When you're thinking about stepping onto the water with a kayak, the first question that pops up isn't how fast can it go, but will it actually fit into my life without turning every outing into a logistics nightmare? I've spent a good chunk of the last month looking at the kind of pedal-driven, tandem-capable kayaks that promise a smooth ride and a lot of cargo room, and I've tried to sort out which claims hold up when you pull the thing out of the box and head for the lake. If you want to see the exact specs, the link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Brooklyn 14.0 Tandem Pedal Kayak from BKC is marketed as a sight-and-top fishing kayak that can be pedaled by 1 or 2 people, carry up to 750 pounds, and still feel nimble enough for a day of casting and exploring. What that really means in practice is that you're looking at a 14-foot hull that's meant to stay stable even when you're hauling a cooler, a tackle box, and a couple of fishing chairs. The real test, however, is how easy the pedal system is to use, how the kayak behaves when you're solo versus in tandem, and whether the storage actually makes a difference on longer trips. Let's start with the pedal drive, because that's the feature that separates this boat from a typical paddle-only kayak. The flipper system uses foot pedals that turn a set of fin-like blades under the hull. In theory, you keep your hands free for fishing and you get a constant forward thrust without the arm fatigue that comes from paddling. When I first tried it on a calm lake, the transition from standing on shore to cruising at about 3-4 knots felt almost seamless. The pedals have a low-profile hinge and a short travel, so you're not constantly bending over. That makes a big difference if you're already hunched over a rod for a few hours. The downside is that the mechanism does have a bit of a learning curve. If you're used to a traditional pedal kayak with a single crank, you'll need a couple of short practice runs to find the rhythm that gives you smooth propulsion without wobbling. The hull itself is where the ultra-stable claim holds up best. At 14 feet, the length gives the boat a decent amount of glide, and the wide beam keeps it from tipping even when you shift weight to one side to reach for a lure. I tested it both solo and with a partner, and the kayak felt solid under the weight of 2 adults plus gear. The 750-pound capacity isn't just a number, it translates into real space for a 20-liter cooler, a couple of fishing rods, and a dry bag with spare clothes. In a solo scenario, you still have room for a full day's worth of supplies, which is something many tandem models skimp on because they're built primarily for 2 people. Now, the practical side of storage. There are 2 hatch compartments, one forward near the bow and another aft behind the seats. Both are covered with watertight seals that click shut, and they open wide enough for you to stuff a fishing rod without having to dismantle the kayak. During my day on the water, I slipped a portable fish finder into the front hatch, kept my phone and snacks in the rear, and still had a spare rod sticking out the side. The hatches are definitely a plus for anyone planning a full-day outing, but they're not the sort of deep lockers you'd find on a larger boat. If you're hoping to bring a full camping rig, tents, sleeping pads, a stove, you'll find the space limiting. The kayak is best suited to a fishing or day trip mindset, not an overnight expedition. Rudder steering is another feature that sounds appealing on paper. The Brooklyn uses a foot-operated rudder that kicks in when you tilt the pedals slightly left or right. In calm water, it feels responsive enough to make minor course corrections without having to stop and adjust your foot pedals. In stronger currents, though, the rudder can feel a little underpowered, and you'll end up using a combination of pedal pressure and subtle body shifts to stay on course. If you're planning to navigate narrow inlets or windy bays, be prepared to give yourself a bit more margin for error than you would with a traditional paddle. Who should actually buy this kayak? If you're an avid angler who spends most of your weekend on a lake, want to keep both hands on the rod, and don't mind a short learning curve for the pedal system, this model is a solid match. It's also a good fit for families who want to share a kayak without the hassle of switching paddles. The dual seating means a parent can pedal while a kid sits comfortably, and the shared storage lets you keep snacks and safety gear in reach. The 750-pound capacity means you won't feel cramped even with a couple of grown-ups and their gear. On the other side of the coin, if you're